Okay, welcome, welcome, welcome. Um, Before we jump into the topic for today, just want to acknowledge sort of a momentous moment in the home journey that indeed if you are in the New York area, it is now possible to partake in person, which is amazing, and lucky to those that are there. It's happening in Brooklyn off Atlantic Avenue, and apologies for not being very descriptive in how actually to get to this special place. Next email, there will be more details about getting into the building and all of that. But it's been a long time coming. That's over 4 years, maybe, that has not been in person, or 4 years about. So that's really amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And lucky for us, it's still also going to be on Zoom. So we'll straddle this sort of in-person Zoom world for a little while and see how that goes. Then the other announcement is that Phuntsok is going to start another in-person meditation at the Jiva Mukti Center in Chinatown starting on March 22nd. And that will be on Fridays. And I guess the details are still being ironed out, whether that's every Friday or every other Friday and how that will look. So please stay tuned for more details about that. And Phuntsok can talk about it a little more when he begins. And then the final announcement, which was not in the email, but just there will be an email coming soon. There's going to be an in-person retreat in Michigan, if I'm correct, in August at some point. And we'll send out a flyer and some details about that and how you can join if you are able to. And Phuntsok, please, yeah, talk more about that when you start. So otherwise, today is a normal home day, and we are talking about desire and how we are supposed to engage and relate to desire from a Buddhist perspective. I can just say very briefly that there is a lot of confusion around a sort of renouncing or relinquishing desire from a Buddhist perspective, like desire is this terrible thing. And at the same time, we need it to have a desire to even begin the path or become a Buddhist or explore our self-growth. And so Phuntsok is going to talk about um, how those dynamics play out in real life and in ourselves and in our relation to the path. As always, there's ways to donate. Please, if you can, I'll post those in the chat. There's Venmo, there's PayPal, there's Patreon. And I'll also put the YouTube link in if you are watching this on, or if you missed this session or want to go back to other sessions, all the sessions are up on YouTube. What else? It's been a little while since I've been here. I'm sure forgetting something, but if I am
Of everything. Yeah.
there, yeah. So I'll hand it over to Phuntsok, and yeah, at the end we'll have some time, hopefully, for some questions and reflections on how the teachings and practice landed with everyone. Okay.
All right. Thank you very much, Nazam, as
Yeah.
always. And since you're not here, so you're not going to be able to partake of the snacks that we have here and the drink. So, so we'll drink one in your honor. Okay. So I'm very happy that the home is actually happening in person again, and thanks to Kirat, who's hosting a home at her home. It's not my home now. Okay. This fireplace is not mine. So we are being hosted by beautiful, wonderful Kirat. Uh, I mentioned it to her, and then she said, "Oh yes, of course," immediately. I didn't have to persuade her or anything like that. It's okay. I didn't have to bribe her, so she was ready. Thank goodness. um, and in addition to that, I guess some other news that as I mentioned, one about the Friday nights. Some of you who've been to the Friday nights at Three Jewels, we call it the Friday night. And it was very impromptu kind of thing. It was meditation. That was the main thing that we were doing. We spent most of the time meditating, but there was a talk about the topic that we are going to meditate on, and then we would meditate, and then we will leave time for questions for people to have questions. And at the very end, we used to have something where people would have personal time with me if they have some personal questions that they wanted to ask with me alone. But that's not going to happen. Okay. If you want to have a personal time with me, you can schedule something when we can talk at some other time because that place that we're going to be is it's someone else's place, so we have to be respectful of their time and what they're providing us. And I'm very happy that's going to be available. And some people, the reason I'm making it available is not really me, but actually a few students have been asking me, when is that coming back? When is that coming back? When is that coming back? And so the stars aligned properly tonight. So we are making that. So and now it's happening. Hopefully, sometime in the end of March. And the other announcement is Harish, who is in. He comes to the Zoom meetings also. He lives out in Michigan, and he organized a retreat for some of his friends who were asking him about retreat, about meditation. So it's gonna just a Friday, Saturday, Sunday kind of retreat for people who want to taste retreat or people who need some time to just meditate on during the weekend. So that will be available. Flyers will be there's a flyer that he prepared and all that kind of stuff. I didn't do anything. All I said was yes, and then he prepared everything. So there's a flyer that he nice flyer that he made out. So we'll send that to you. When you see that, it's not spamming. Okay. It's coming from me, legitimately. Okay. All right. So without further ado, we will begin our topic tonight on desire. Interestingly enough, it is the topic that got me into Buddhism because it was the most ridiculous thing I ever heard the first time I heard it. And because it was so ridiculous, I kept thinking about it. And then eventually I found myself being a monk later on. And now I'm teaching. Okay. Uh, the format is we meditate, I talk, blah, blah, blah. And then if you're lucky, I give you time to ask questions. And we'll end with another meditation, a closing meditation. All right, get ready to meditate. Okay. Okay. Begin by intentionally telling yourself that you're going to meditate. Allow the meaning of meditation to come to the surface. No need to direct it, just let it come and allow your body and all the different dimensions of your being to respond to this intention to meditate. Connect with that intelligence that is within the body. Allow it to guide you, allow it to give you advice. Oh, you want to meditate? Let me tell you how you should have the body. So listen to that natural intelligence as it guides you. How you should have your legs, your torso, your hands, your arms and shoulders, centering your head and neck. Until you feel a sense of ah in the body itself. It's comfortable and it's stable. Begin to be aware of the signs that you are indeed beginning to enter meditation, that sacred inner space, the fount of the source of your reality. And once you feel the body is exactly where it's supposed to be, you don't feel the need to make any further adjustments. Gently bring your attention to the breath without pushing away the awareness of the body. Just bring in awareness of the breath. As you breathe in, you simply know you are breathing in. As you breathe out, you simply know you are breathing out. And eventually, there is a shift that will take place in the behavior of the breath. Once you become aware of that slight shift, take that as the indication now is the time to fully commit to intermeditation. And one nice way of making that commitment, that determination, is to take a nice, conscious, deep breath. Like in through the nose, gently, fully. Hold for a second or two and release. And as you release, let yourself go, let yourself go, let yourself go, let yourself go. Notice the signs of calm and pleasantness arising in the body and the breath. Noticing them, rejoice. Allow the breath to return to its own rhythm. And as the breath continues to touch more of that calm, of that pleasantness, notice that same pleasantness, that same calm arising also in some form in the mind itself. It doesn't have to be a major shift of calm or pleasantness, just whatever degree that there is, notice it and rejoice. Be in the frame of mind, not rejecting, not grasping, allowing whatever experience is taking place to take place, and just be in the center, observing. And if you feel like taking another deep breath to help settle into this new calm and pleasantness, you may take it. Now gently bring your attention to the space in front of you at the level of your eyebrows. And begin to be aware of a sensation arising in the forehead. Whatever the sensation may be for you, that is the sensation. Whether it's heat, whether it's pulsing, whether it's magnetic, whatever it is, just be aware of it. Ascribe to that sensation as being the presence of a bright being. You can call it your potential, your enlightened potential. Being beyond limitations of time and space, it can visit you. And towards that presence, knowing your deep connection to it, allow your deep sense of reverence to arise, feel it, and direct it towards that presence. And as you're experiencing that deep sense of reverence, relax, go deeper into the calm, go deeper into the pleasantness. And as inner sensations are arising, acknowledge that there are signs that your mind is becoming clearer, your mind is becoming brighter. Its natural state of clarity and radiance are being touched. And they are now appearing as these very sensations, these very appearances. So no need to go to them and no need to push them away. And towards that presence, let a deep sense of trust arise within you. And as you feel that deep sense of trust, again, let that very trust take you deeper into the calm, deeper into the pleasantness, deeper into the clarity, making those very sensations stronger, sharper, clearer, brighter, louder. And towards your potential, express deep sense of gratitude, holding with definite conviction that you will indeed embody all that you aspire to embody, and feel a great sense of gratitude to all that has been guiding you, all that is guiding you, all that will guide you, and feel a deep sense of gratitude with conviction. And that presence, whose brightness that we feel in some form, is our innate intelligence. It is that within us that tells us when we encounter truth. It is our validator. Allow it to listen with you so that your own wisdom may be accessible to you as you listen to tonight's lecture, tonight's talk rather than lecture. And whatever concerns you may have, whether it's for yourself, for your family, for your friends, for the world, for existence, know that this very moment, what you're doing is taking care of it. You're taking care of this concern right here, right now. And while you're in this beautiful space, take that bright presence from the space in front of you, bring it to the crown of your head. And that sensation you're feeling at the crown, see if you can feel something similar now at the crown. And as you are feeling that sensation, perhaps you're also seeing light. If not, just imagine there's bright light above you. And the light that is shining on you, all the things that you need to help to remove what needs to be removed. the intaking of all that you need for strength, for understanding. And feel desire without passing judgment of what it should or should not be. Just feel that energy. And bring it, that brightness, that energy into the very center of your heart and just leave it alone. Just stay there, allowing whatever comes, let them come. Staying aware of the calm, the pleasantness. And when sensations arise, when visions arise, when sounds come up, immediately remind yourself, my mind is clearer now. My mind is brighter now. Okay, get ready to rise. Be aware that you are indeed meditating and that you are arising from somewhere into somewhere. Be aware of this, that you are meditating. Rejoice. And feeling ready, take a nice deep breath and release. And as you're releasing, let your mind, let your attention deliberately be aware of your immediate surroundings, your sense of touch, your sense of hearing, your sense of sight. This is the first time we finished meditation before the bell. Just in case some of you missed that. All right. Uh, so I'll begin with that story about how how desire was my door to Buddhism. It was, I think, maybe junior high, and we were doing a social studies class. And in social studies class, the teacher announced that he was going to talk about the world religions. So he was going to cover every single religion on the planet in 45 minutes. And so he mentioned this and that, and so that's cute, that's interesting. And when he came to Buddhism, for me, the world religions were Catholicism and the Protestants. These are the only religions I knew. And I saw as being many, I said, well, there are many Protestants. I didn't even know that there were other kinds of religions on the planet other than some form of Christianity. Okay. So when he mentioned, when he came to Buddhism, and he mentioned, oh, these people, there's this religion called Buddhism, and then they believe they're trying to achieve something called nirvana, and they believe that the way to get to nirvana is to get rid of all desire. And that's when my head went up. What? How can you get rid of desire? Is it wanting to get rid of desire kind of desire itself? And this kind of thinking got me got me thinking about it all the time. I kept thinking about it. After the class, I kept thinking about it. How could people believe that? Okay, how can you get rid of desire? But isn't desire for desire good? What's wrong with desire? But since I was born into some form of Christian, into Catholicism, we somewhat had a relationship with desire, like it was the devil's thing, right? You're not supposed to have desire. Uh, it was ascribed to some sort of sin that you were supposed to fight having desire. So I had that kind of already sort of indoctrination with desire. But when I heard uh, Buddhism being described as their path is to get rid of desire, I have to say though, in the Catholicism that I grew up in, we were told that desire was bad, but we were never told how to get rid of it. We were just told it was bad. So it was nice. So you can have nice, wonderful Catholic guilt. Whenever desire came up, you just felt guilty, but you didn't know how to get rid of it. But there it was. So when it was mentioned that there are actually have practices that get rid of desire, I thought it was interesting. So I that was my sort of introduction into Buddhism, and I went and read about it more and more because I wanted to know more and more about this thing. How can you get rid of desire? And eventually, I became the what you call the the embodiment of well, not the embodiment, but the ideal practitioner. Not in that I was a perfect practitioner. The ideal practitioner of the Buddhist path is to give up the world and focus on just meditation and study, which was I became ordained. And one of the main practices of an ordained person is to fight desire with all your might. So you're given meditations on different kinds of meditation that upsets desire. So you get supposed to get rid of it. When you first learn about the Four Noble Truths, the first two are there is suffering, and then we go into all the different ways that we suffer, the obvious suffering, the subtle suffering, the all pervasive suffering, and all different kinds of suffering, physical, mental, social. And you accept, yes, there is suffering. There is suffering in my life. And when you get to the second noble truth, okay, how did I get all this suffering? And there are two answers given, but the main answer that is given is desire. Desire is why we suffer. So what are you supposed to do with desire? You're supposed to get rid of it. So that's the beginning of your path with Buddhism, is that you are introduced to desire in such a way that it is your enemy. You're suffering, everything that's going bad in your life is in some way connected to desire. So as a good practitioner, I had this strange thing growing up. As a child, I listened to authority. Whenever something came from authority, I just felt like I'm supposed to listen. So it came from the authority that desire is bad. So I tried my best to not have desire. And of course, I ended up, doing a lot of psychological damage to myself, trying to get rid of desire, thinking that it was the right thing to do. And one day, I'm very happy that I had this sort of like open mindedness. I decided I'm not going to just accept that there's something bad with desire. I'm going to allow desire itself to tell me that it is bad. So I had this sort of like open-minded inquiry about desire. So I investigated desire within myself. How do I experience it? What is going on? What is it that desire is after? And I have to say that I came to the conclusion that desire is not necessarily bad. Then I have to ask myself, why is it that from the outset that we are told, stay away from desire, stay away from desire? That's the devil. That's the reason why you're suffering. So why this introduction to desire? And and later on, what really answered the question was so after spending years studying get away from desire, you're given like a million tools to get rid of desire, and almost as if at the point where you have no more desire, if that is true, where you fool yourself to think that you have no more desire, and they say, okay, now you're ready. Remember desire that you threw away in the garbage? Go get it. Go get it because you need it for the next step. And now they're telling you that without it, you ain't going nowhere. So that's a bit confusing, right? Especially if you encounter the teaching not in a very gradual way, where somehow you plop right in the middle and you're told desire is bad and you don't know why, and then you're right next to the point where they tell you, "Hey, desire is the best thing for the path," and that could be very confusing. And something else also, an image came to my mind. I'm thinking about a baby, this very vulnerable being, can't walk, can't talk, can't feed itself. And eventually, that very vulnerable, can't talk, can't walk, can't feed itself, eventually knows how to talk, eventually not only knows how to walk, but also knows how to run and can take care of itself. What is what is it what is that thing that's in the baby that makes the baby able to eventually be able to walk? What is it that's in the baby that makes the baby eventually be able to talk? Do you think that if there was no one around, no one to be an example for the baby, look, there are these these beings walking around and I can't do it. There are these beings talking with each other and I can't do it. I think that if there were no one around, the baby would just stay not able to talk, not able to walk for all of its life while it's growing. That's what I think. Unless somehow something sparks in that baby. And what is it that sparks in that baby that makes the baby eventually able to walk and talk? It's desire. The baby desires to talk. The baby desires to walk. And eventually the baby is talking and the baby is walking. So that tells us something very important about desire. And I'll even go back. I'll take evolution. Sorry about those of you who don't want to accept that, but okay. let's say let's say maybe it's true. Okay. What is it that makes evolution takes place? Some of us think of evolution as you have no choice but to go to some sort of change, the kind of change, I mean, the evolutionary change that we witness. But actually, what brings about that change in that species or in that entity is a desire for something else, a desire for to be able to protect itself better, a desire to be able to survive better. And without that desire, that as far as evolution is concerned, that being, that entity will just vanish, will not be able to continue. Okay? So these are, I would say, two sort of like examples where we see desire as an organic biological thing that is necessary for an entity, for anyone, I have to say, any sentient being that has a mind where it has the spark of desire to be able to bring about change. And what does that mean to bring about change? It means to actually somehow touch the very fabric of reality and mold it and sculpt it according to what will be best for its benefit. So when you look at it from this perspective, that desire is actually the power to bring about change. Okay, I'm going to say it in a more um, powerful way. Desire is the means to reach to the fabric of reality and manipulate it. It's a way to manipulate reality. And I don't mean manipulate like, in the dysfunctional way. I'm talking about just being able to mold and sculpt reality. That's what desire is. It is that capacity within any sentient beings to do so. So that is fire. That is a power that you could say, when not handled correctly, could burn, could destroy the very person who's wielding it. And this sort of gave me somewhat the answer as to why, in the beginning of the path, you're told, stay away from desire, stay away from desire. It's not that desire is bad per se. It's not that desire is inherently evil per se or inherently destructive. It's just that, as far as we know, especially with human society, with human societies, I would say with the human species, okay, we have a dysfunctional relationship with that power. We use it all the time, but unfortunately, we use it in a very dysfunctional way. We are still manipulating reality. We are still sculpting reality, but we are sculpting it and manipulating it in a way that actually we eventually don't want to experience. So we are using our reality shaping power in a way that creates instead suffering for us. Since that is what we are used to, that is what we are habituated to. We are habituated to mishandling this power. So, as a way of sort of weaning ourselves out of this bad behavior, we are told to stay away from it. And the only way for us to really stay away from it, we have to be treated like children. We have to be told myth. We have to be told stories. That's the devil. Stay away from it. Because if we're not told that it's the devil, we're just going to continue to play with it with our very bad habit of handling it. So to make sure that we really stay away from that bad habit, we are told it's the devil. And in a sense, our relationship is devilish for us, is demonic for us, because the way we are used to using it is to bring about suffering for ourselves and, of course, suffering for others. So in a way, that is the truth. Relatively speaking, it is demonic because of the way we are accustomed to using it. So they're not lying to us in a sense, but they're not ultimately telling us the truth. But is this is what is needed at that moment in time in our evolution, in our spiritual evolution. We need to stay away from the stuff because we don't know how to use it properly. Okay? And the same thing with all those things that are usually connected with desire, especially the the objects of desire that we have that we are mostly have this dysfunctional relationship with. Desire as to romantic desire, desire with with certain kinds of material things. Our relationship with them is dysfunctional. And because of that, you're asked to renounce. And the renounce seems to be saying renounce those things. But what renouncing is really asking us is keep away from the habit of this dysfunctional way of relating with reality, where we are uh, without wanting to shaping reality in a way that brings us suffering. We have no choice in the matter of shaping reality because we are, it's not that there's reality and here we are, and then we can decide to be in it and not be in it. We are part of reality, we are in it, and the interdependence of reality, we are constantly shaping it. So, this gross way, this conscious way of directly affecting and shaping reality, we're asked to stay away from that. Okay? And once we develop a right relationship with this power, once we develop a right relationship with desire, then slowly we are guided back. Because from the very beginning, it is, it's in the sutras and all those, in the tantras, we are told you will not reach liberation if you don't get rid of desire. And just when you're in the middle of the path and you've done all your work and you're about to reach enlightenment, you're about to reach liberation, and you're told you cannot reach liberation without desire. So now that you've sort of we have cleaned our relationship with desire, we can pick it up again. So instead of desire controlling us, instead of us being under the whim of desire, now we are using desire. And one of the things that helps us, the reason that we had a dysfunctional relationship with desire was because of misunderstanding of reality, misunderstanding the nature of our experiences. We misunderstood the nature of our experiences. That's what it means by misunderstanding the nature of reality. It's not some philosophy. It doesn't mean that you're supposed to take some philosophical course in order for you to understand what that means. It means that our experiences that we have every day, we have a misunderstanding of it. And we act from this misunderstanding. Because we act from this misunderstanding, because we are misunderstanding our experiences. So when we are wielding this power that shapes reality, we are we are wielding it from a place of misunderstanding. There is this innate wisdom within us that knows that the way we are experiencing reality is not in accordance with our fundamental nature. It comes out as desire. So desire, in a very fundamental way, is wanting to return to that fundamental nature, which is calling us. But because we are lost, we end up going to different directions. That is, we end up going away from our fundamental nature. And this distance from our fundamental nature, we are reminded of that when we're experiencing suffering. So suffering is a reminder that we are not aware, we're not in alignment with our fundamental nature, with our authentic way of being. And what does this misunderstanding, what does it do? It sort of misdirects us, you could say. So this urge you have to return to a fundamental place, of contentment, is somewhere out there. We touch it through our senses. We taste it through our senses. And because we taste it and touch it through our senses, that develops eventually into a kind of piling up of data that tells us, well, most of the time that I've felt that I'm touching this sense of contentment is when my eyes are seeing something, a certain something, when I'm hearing a certain something, when my sense of touch is such touching a certain something. So that gives us the appearance. It's not our fault. It's not that something is fundamentally wrong with you. It's just that it seems logical at that time. Since I am seeming touching something that I am urged to go after through how I'm experiencing reality. So it must be somewhere in reality that in the reality that I'm encountering. Sometimes I experience it by seeing something. Sometimes I experience it by being with someone. Sometimes I experience it by, through some form through one of my senses or combination of my senses, or in when I'm thinking a certain thought. So uh, over time, this adds up, and with this adding up, it is natural for us to have this tendency, this conviction to think that it is out there somewhere. That the object of this urge to return, to go to to experience some fundamental, some authentic being, it's urging me to go find it out there. So we go out and to find it. When we do that, that's when desire becomes unwholesome. That's when desire becomes unskillful. We are still manipulating reality. We are still determining how we have experiences. But unfortunately, the experiences that we have, because they are more and more distance from our fundamental nature, more and more distant from our authentic being, we experience suffering more and more, more and more. Remember, suffering is simply distant from fundamental nature, distant from authentic being. Okay? However, it's nice for you. Okay? And if these terms, if you don't agree with these terms, fundamental being, authentic being, find your own. Okay? You know what I'm talking about. So let's not quiver. Okay? Uh, so this habit that we have that sort of makes us misdirect how we are shaping reality. That is what is we called in Buddhism in the Sanskrit word or the Pali word is Tana. Okay, so they have so you have two main kinds of desire. The unwholesome desire, that is desire, the capacity to shape reality. Think of that, the capacity to shape reality. When it is being directed by misunderstanding reality, that's Tana. And the proper word for it, I think the nice translation for it is like attachment. But attachment itself is somewhat nuanced. It can be it's not necessarily used only in something that results in suffering only, right? Like, for example, it is said that the bodhisattvas have attachment for sentient beings. Those beings who have perfected compassion, that very compassion that they have perfected is, in a sense, a kind of a holy attachment to sentient beings. And it connects them to resources that are vast and unimaginable. Okay, so this kind of attachment. But another word that is usually used for Tana is craving. Craving. Okay, so craving has us already. It's a word that already has a sense of um, of dysfunction within it. Like when you're craving something, it's like you're overpowered. It's not like you are consciously directing something. It's not like you're directing your wish, your wanting. It's like you're being overpowered. Okay, so that's these two, craving or attachment, when they are being directed by misunderstanding, that's unwholesome desire. And that's the desire that we are asked to get rid of eventually, to get rid of it. In the very beginning, it would be very difficult for us to make a distinction between wholesome desire and unwholesome desire. So stay away from desire altogether, because the only desire you are used to is the unwholesome one. And you don't want to be thinking that you're doing wholesome desire when it's actually the unwholesome desire. What does that mean? You're shaping reality thinking that it will be more, bringing you more and more closer to your authentic being, but it's actually taking you further, creating more suffering for you and for others. Okay. And Tana, of course, have different flavors, right? There is Tana, which is what is referred to as just you want your senses to feel pleasure, the kind of a hedonistic pleasure, where it is unskillful, where in order for you to get that pleasure, some sort of unnecessary sacrifice must be made, an unnecessary sacrifice of suffering. You have to um, almost denigrate a part of yourself to be able to experience it, or you have to do some harm to someone else in order for you to experience it. This is what they're referring to as the Tana, in terms of this desire, this wanting to be experiencing pleasure through your senses. That's Kama Tana. And there's an and this is and we have to be very careful with this one also. Okay. And just like there are nuances to there are nuances when you find yourself using the word pleasure in where it's a sense of contentment, a sense of happiness, like you're enjoying someone's company, you're enjoying some food, you're enjoying a walk, you're enjoying a book or something. There's nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with the actual experience of the pleasure itself, but rather it's what in the back of the experience, the convictions that we are nurturing, the convictions that we are building up about the nature of why I'm experiencing this pleasure. That is somehow driven by a misunderstanding. There's some kind of misunderstanding driving this seeking to understand the nature of the pleasure that you're experiencing. Okay. So that's this kind of Tana. And the next Tana is, I think, what's his name? There's this guy I just listened to on a podcast. The guy who this venture capitalist who's Collins something? No, this venture capitalist who's basically using his life as an experiment to achieve uh, to achieve immortality. You know him? Have you heard of him? Yeah, I thought it was fascinating that this guy is actually doing this, and he has the money to do it. He made millions and millions and millions, and then he's using his millions to do this kind of studies. So right now he's prolonging his life, and then he's eventually he's able to pay scientists and doctors to, okay, let's get into this. How do we achieve immortality? Now, the reason that I'm bringing him up is because the criticism that he receives. Who wants to live forever? Is the question that some people ask. And then he gave a nice answer that says, No, don't ask the question who wants to live forever. Ask the question who wants to see tomorrow. And that makes so much sense. Nobody will say, I don't care about tomorrow. I don't want to see tomorrow. Okay, right. I'm not going to make this absolute statement. There might be some people, okay? Might be some people out there who absolutely don't want to see a tomorrow, especially if your today and your tomorrow is not something you want to continue to experience. But overall, whether you're suffering or you're having a good time, if you're suffering, you're hoping that your tomorrow will be better. And if you're having a good time, you're hoping that you have one more day to continue to have a good time. Okay. And where does it end? Tomorrow, when tomorrow comes, you're going to want another tomorrow. When tomorrow comes, when do you want when do you want to be your last tomorrow? That is not a question that we can really answer. So it's kind of a platitude to say that oh, who wants to live forever? Nobody wants to live because you're imagining your present condition continuing forever. Who wants their present condition to continue forever? Right? Nobody wants that. But you always look for something better, and you think that tomorrow will bring something better. So we want the tomorrow. All right. So there's that. Now, how is this connected to the next thing I'm about to talk about? Is that innate within us, this wanting for tomorrow is a desire. It is a desire it's called desire for existing. And this is the biggest desire that we have. The biggest desire, the desire to exist. And this desire to exist, you can take it now back to evolution. Because of this innate desire to exist, evolution takes place. Your environment is bringing you signs that it will destroy you, and you want to overcome your very environment. You want to overcome the very nature that is subject to this environment. And you have this innate thing within you that somehow makes you overcome it. It transforms your vehicle in such a way that the threat that the environment posed to you was no longer a threat. So that is desire for existence. But when ignorance, when misunderstanding of reality gets in there, so that desire for existence, there's nothing wrong with it by itself, but when it's qualified by misunderstanding the very nature of reality that you're living, it becomes an attachment to existence. What does attachment to existence mean? Somewhere within there is the immediate other, fear that you can cease to exist. You fear that it is possible that you can cease to exist. And because of that fear, you grab onto existence. And this sort of answers somewhat the question that some people may have. Okay, it's somewhat philosophical. Unless you're a yogi, then you can have direct experience of it. Okay, but I'm not a direct experience of it, but I can just talk about it like a philosophy. We hear a lot like people choose their birth. And then some people would ask, okay, why would I choose this why would I choose this birth instead of another birth? Right? And we hear of, there are different ways of experiencing existence. There are ways of experiencing existence where you're suffering constantly. Who would choose to exist that way? It is because of Dana. It's because of this thirst to continue to exist, because we are driven by a fear of maybe I will cease to exist. We have no idea what it means to cease to exist, but we are terrified of it. And because we believe that it's possible, we cling onto, clinging is another word that they use for that. We cling, we crave to continue to existence. And to get to the point where we will take whatever existence there is, even if it's a suffering existence, we'll take it as long as it's not annihilation. We will take suffering over annihilation. That's what this Tana does. This Tana, which is uh, craving for existence, thirst to exist, fear of annihilation. And all that, this fear, this is misunderstanding the nature of our experiences, is misunderstanding the nature of our being that drives these. So we're supposed to get rid of this thirst for existence. And when you hear get rid of your thirst for existence, it seems like, wait a minute, you're supposed to evolve into non-existence. As though that makes sense in somehow. But for some people it makes sense. But it makes no sense. It's nonsense. You cannot evolve to a state where the actual evolved state is non-existent. You want to use the word non-existent for some evolved state? Okay, I understand that. But the actual non-existent, that's not part of it. Okay, so that's unwholesome desire. So when suffering is the result of desire, most likely it is because somewhere behind it, there's a misunderstanding of reality that is driving, that is shaping reality. Now, what is the wholesome desire? There is a wholesome desire, and there is an actual the word that they use in the Sanskrit and Pali is chana. Okay. In the Tibetan is dunba. For those of you, for some reason, you wanted to know Tibetan. There's a Tibetan. It's dunba. And the way that's translated is mostly as desire in the form of aspiration. Okay. So think of it this way. You're meeting reality as it is. You're not superimposing on reality what you want it to be, but rather in meeting it as it is. And as you meet it as it is, that drive to shape reality is rather being driven, being directed by your experience of reality as it is. That drive is wholesome desire. And how do you make desire wholesome? The first thing is to disassociate yourself from the desire that is unwholesome. So that's you clean yourself of that. And you start building up wholesome desire by aligning your perception with reality as it is. What does that mean? Aligning your perception with reality as it is. I'm not talking about go read a book, but rather as you're having experiences, what is actually taking place? Okay? And as you are experiencing what is actually taking place, make sure there isn't the wanting to grasp at what's going on because you're terrified something that you want to continue is going to stop. Watch out for it. If it comes up, it's part of reality. Then you just notice, oh, there is that there, but you don't engage it. You don't identify with it. You don't get into it. Okay? You simply know that it's there. If you are, and I'm going to use the example, I guess I've been using this example a lot. If you are angry and that's what is going on, don't tell yourself, I'm not supposed to be angry, and then you somehow make yourself not be aware that you're angry. That is not wisdom. That is ignorance. That is not knowing what is actually taking place. Okay. There's a reason why anger came up. Let anger tell you why it is there, what announcement it has for you. That is because that is your reality at that moment. Doesn't mean anger is supposed to continue forever. But at the moment, that's what's there. At the moment, meet it. Okay. And have a conversation with it. Have a dialogue with it. It wants to give you information. Be ready to listen to it, what it has to tell you. Okay. So whatever is your actual experience, meet it, be with it, without superimposing on it what you want it to be or what trying to deny that it is there because you think it's somehow holy to deny what is there. Okay. If I have dysfunctional attachments, and dysfunctional attachment is a bad thing, and when it comes up, what I do is, push it down, thinking that's the holy practice. The holy practice is not to push it down. That is only making ignorance stronger. If indeed you do not have the power within you to be with it, then run away from it. Yes, definitely distract yourself. Watch a movie, go listen to some music. Definitely distract. But as you are distracting yourself, know that's what you're doing. I am distracting myself because I don't have the means right now to be able to sit with this. And then what are you going to do? You're going to shape reality. May I be able to deal with it? That's all you need to do. May I be able to deal with it? And one day, you will find the strength within you that reality shaping mechanism will shape your reality in such a way that you will find the resources within you to be able to sit with it. But it begins with that aspiration. May I be able to deal with it? And when you are able to actually sit with it, then let it teach you again. It is there, it is real, it is really happening. Only what's real, only what is actually happening can teach you about reality. Whatever it is, if it is real, if it's actually taking place, if it's an actual experience, it can teach you about reality. All we have to do is to simply be open to its message. Yeah. So that is one way of cultivating a proper relationship with desire. That is one way of cultivating what is called the wholesome desire. The other way, it's not like something apart from this, but you could say in addition to this, in addition to meeting reality as it is. And when you meet reality as it is, and you're very open to it, you will begin to uh, pick up on something about reality. That is, there is this sort of like underlying filament of connection that extends everywhere. And you can begin to touch that, begin to be aware of that. And the way it comes up to you as some kind of wisdom is at first, insights come to you without you even seeking insight. Somehow you know this thing has a connection or relationship with that. And you have no way of explaining how you know that. And you don't even know how to explain exactly what is that connection. But you know intuitively, instinctively, there is a connection. That because you're more allowing yourself to allow reality to present itself to you rather than to impose what you want reality to be onto reality. And I mean, what is this strand of connection that is there? the very physics of reality. I know some of you don't like it when I say that. The very physics of reality is love. You begin to be aware of this incredible interrelationship that all reality has. And it is this interrelating, this interrelatability that actually that's what reality is. It is interrelating, and then this very interrelatability. Oh my goodness. Interrelat. You know what I'm talking about. That's what reality is. In the very nature of reality, everything that you encounter is ready to be interrelated. It is interrelating. Everything that we encounter, I'll put it more in this sort of like a soft way of speaking. Everything you encounter is ready to sacrifice whatever appearance it has so that another appearance can come. And the reason that it has this because it is not afraid of coming out of existence. There is this innate knowing that it is eternality is the nature of reality. Well, eternality is the nature of reality. Okay? So it's just that it just changes form, but it's still reality. And when you are connected to that, you're not afraid of one day you will cease to exist. You're not grasping at the things that appear. And the things that appear, grasping at them, thinking that that will make them not disappear, never worked, will never work, because it's not the nature of things to remain static and fixed. That's why in one philosophy, it is said that the universe is constantly dancing, or reality is constantly dancing. That is what reality does. It dances. What you're gonna do? You're gonna make it stop dancing? If it stopped dancing, then it's no longer reality. I don't know what else that would be. It would not be reality. It will not be a kind of reality. It will not be reality. In order for reality to be reality, it has to dance. And if you want to dance, too bad, because that's reality. So when you know that reality is constantly dancing, constantly shifting forms, then you're not afraid of when a form disappears or when a form is about to disappear, because another form will take place. Okay, it's interesting how when you are in that place where you're not afraid of another form taking place, the forms that you experience, because they are more in you're more in alignment with your true nature, you have no aspirations. You don't need to have aspirations anymore. You don't need to directly want something different than what you're experiencing, because what you're experiencing will be for you a reminder, a mirror of your fundamental nature, of your authentic self. But when we go in the opposite direction, when we think that we are letting go of a form, we think non-existence is about to take place, and we want to continue to exist, which is impossible for us to cease to exist. We try to grab onto something that is completely temporary. And that's where unwholesome desire creates its worst suffering. It makes us go after trying to make something that is by nature transitory, trying to make it permanent, trying to make it lasting. And because it's not this nature, then we end up only always disappointing ourselves. So we are a mass of disappointment. And that's where, and because we're constantly being driven by misunderstanding, we think that we did something wrong that made it not stay. So next time we're gonna grab on more tightly so we will make it stay. And that's what we keep trying to do. When it's at its worst is when we're completely deluded, thinking that our misunderstanding is some kind of wisdom, and we will impose our desires onto everyone. And if they don't want it, we will force it upon them. And if they're showing signs that this imposed desire upon them is causing them suffering, then it's good for them. They need that because they have to be exactly what I want them to be. And of course, that doesn't work. It has never worked. It will never work. There's not one being in the history of existence, not just the history of the planet. I'm gonna be very arrogant and say the history of existence that has made that work. There is deception that it seems like it's working, but eventually it breaks apart. Okay. So the very thing that we seek to return to that is driving our desire, it is a wisdom. Before we allow misunderstanding to grab hold of that and drag us around into all kinds of suffering, take a break from from that. Step back, look at it, ask yourself questions. Have self-inquiry. Okay. What do I really want from this? What is desire really? What is it desire really want? And when you get to what it somehow get to what it really wants, you can ask yourself, this method that I'm about to engage in, is it somehow connected to the nature of what I want? Is it really going to get me what desire is asking me to get? I have to immediately say something before I end about that. When when we are in the experience of wanting something, and there is a kind of feeling that uh, uneasiness, like you're not where you're supposed to be, you're not who you're supposed to be, you're not having the experience that you're supposed to be, and that's why the desire is there. And the desire is saying, I'm going to take you there, follow me. That, just up to that, know that there is nothing wrong with that. As a matter of fact, that is it just that alone is wholesome. When it becomes uh, dirty, when it becomes um, unwholesome, is when we are extending beyond that, when we are trying to force something to be something that it is not. When we desire something, immediately you can tell yourself, the wisdom within me is reminding me that I'm distant from my authentic self. And when we engage something, whatever it may be, a relationship, a person, a thing that gives us pleasure, we have to be grateful to that vehicle, but remember that it is simply a means of reminding ourselves of something. It is not itself the contentment that you're experiencing. You have you experiencing contentment in relationship to something. What that thing is doing is reminding us of something much deeper. And when it goes away, we don't have to grasp at it. The message was already delivered. Ah, it is possible to be content. It is possible to have joy. And okay, all right. I think I've covered everything that I need to cover, but I'm sure you may have some questions. Some and you incredible people always have very practical questions. If you have a philosophical one, you can ask it too.
I've got a
Yes,
question.
go ahead.
Thanks, Nozam. Hey, Lama Phuntsok. So my question is about something that came up this week, where when you mention desire, I'm kind of thinking of it like in a mathematical way, like as an equation. And desire is like kind of like a variable in that equation that can be replaced, right? So I'm going to put power into that equation as the variable. So this week, earlier this week, I felt very disempowered by a manager that I've been working with, right? And something that I really, really value is my freedom and my autonomy in finding a way to solve problems myself. So you could say that the desire was strong within me to prove that you are not in control of me, right? And something that I did, that I went out of my, I did something where I went out of my values, and I lied blatantly to this manager, right? But in the process of telling the lie that I told, there was a part of me that was saying that what you're doing is a lesson for the person that you're doing it to, right? So some sort of righteousness that I'm justified in telling this lie. And when the time came that the lie was revealed as a lie, and I'm talking just like a pure lie, just like a completely telling what's not true. And the manager was very upset and angry. That same part of me said, yes, good. Now he knows that he's not in control of me, right? So is that an example of this power being hijacked? Because in the process, while I'm doing it, it feels like, oh, this is 100% the right thing. I am applying the dharma, and I've somehow convinced myself that that's the case. What are your thoughts about this sort of situation. And
Oh,
the
yeah.
feeling, like, kind of, to be honest, the same part felt very, very like, yes.
Yeah.
Good job.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for sharing that. That's a very nice example. There is a term that someone introduced me to a very long time ago when it comes to ethics within the context of Buddhism. So we throw away the word ethics, we throw away the word morality. Basically, we simply prefer to use the term skillful, being skillful. Being skillful meaning you have an goal in mind, an object of your desire that you desire, and then now you're going to implement something that will get you to that. You speak, you say, you do whatever you think, you do something. If it actually gets you that, then it says that was a skillful action. If it doesn't get you that, then that is called an unskillful action. So the example that you gave, when you look at the result, the result is exactly what you wanted. If it was exactly what you wanted, then that was a skillful action. But if some other consequences come as a result of that, and these other consequences are things that you did not want, then you could say, then it was not skillful. So when to lie, when not to lie, are you not supposed to lie? Are you supposed to sometimes lie? It all depends on what is really guiding you. Is it a proper understanding of the situation? Like, oh, the person you're looking to murder is not in this house. Actually, I saw that person running down the highway, and that was a lie. Was that skillful or unskillful? So, with your specific situation, you had the desire to have an experience, and you did something in order for you to have the sense of having that experience. There is, uh, you know, there are so many things involved in an action when you are sort of creating the potential for a result. Right? Whenever we are acting, we are creating the potential for a result. And it's not necessarily the immediate experience is necessarily the result of that potential. The potential that potential may ripen into its result way later. So your example of that example, I mean, it would be nice and easy, but I would say it would be ultimately confusing if I were to say, "Oh, that was a lie. No lying. The lying is not good. You shouldn't have done that." You have to ask yourself, what was really motivating you? What if there was a sense within you, not not simply see there is I don't want to be controlled. That's one desire, but there could also be other desires there. You have to be careful. Which one? There could be a bunch of desires lined up, and the first one could have been very wholesome, but it gets confused with the other desires. And at the very end, the one that actually initiates, takes control, may not necessarily be the wholesome one. There's nothing wrong with not wanting to be controlled. There's nothing wrong with telling someone, hey, you have no authority, or I do not give you consent to control me. There's nothing wrong with that. But there could also be, I want to see him hurt. I want to see him embarrassed. And you have to make sure that which one of those actually took action. If it's the one that somehow is disconnected with that we exist interrelated. If I'm seeing a self and I'm wanting that self to experience suffering, I'm basically saying it is okay for self to suffer. And when we actually act upon that, we are saying, we are sort of like signing the deal. Definitely self must suffer. Okay. And this is going to sound very weird. The very fabric of reality, perfect freedom and love. Love in the sense that since you will not cease to exist anyway, you can experience whatever you want to experience. If you want to experience suffering, my child, you're free to play with suffering because suffering is not your real nature anyway. But if you want to play with it, play with it. It's the very nature of reality would allow you to play with it until you get tired of it. Okay. So if there is a specific experience about reality that we do not want to have in reality, the very nature of reality is such that there are there are ways to engage reality so we don't have those experiences. So what was really driving you? What was really the desire? That's the question you have to ask yourself. It's not whether you lied to get somewhere, but what was really making you lie? What was the real desire? Uh, uh, the path that I mentioned in the very beginning is like, for example, I have an example, not real. Maybe I'm lying. I have a dysfunctional relationship with lying. I do not use it skillfully. I use it mainly out of fear. I use it mainly out of uh, some traumatic reaction from the past that I have no control over. Okay, let's say that's my relationship with lying. If that is my relationship with lying, if I continue, I will just continue to perpetuate that. The best thing for me to do is to, for the moment, stay away from lying altogether until I can make, if that is a tool to use, that I can use it properly, skillfully. And the same thing is with desire. And we have to, and to be able to have control over our desire, we have to do everything. Everything that is, we have to engage every part of our life, even our diet. Okay, I'm not talking about staying away from certain things because you won't look pretty if you do. I'm talking about really knowing, is this thing controlling me or do I have agency? And eventually, um, you will be so evolved, you will look absolutely ordinary. Yeah. You'll get married, have children, grow old, die, and every single one of them will be a blissful experience. Okay, so I'm not sure if I really answered your question, but I heard myself blab a lot. Okay, so I guess no one. Yes.
Well, I would just say jokingly that this person you were talking about, the the entrepreneur guy who's exploring immortality.
Yeah.
I guess if he was to listen to this lecture, he would have to give up on his purpose in life because apparently he is immortal. He just does not know it.
Yeah. 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 Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. Um, Wonderful to be here. Thank you, Kirat, for hosting the in-person. And for those of you who are saying, wait a minute, it was in person? I could have come. Sorry. So we'll have better communication next time. Okay. All right. Um, okay, that's it. Let's close with a closing meditation. So have conscious intention that you're about to enter this magical space called meditation. We will have the possibility of touching authentic being, whatever that means for you. Allow the natural intelligence in the body to guide you as to the posture. And once you feel settled in the posture that is conducive for you, bring attention to the breath. And if you can, remember the experience you had while you were in meditation, the sense of being in meditation. Just remember it. And as you're recalling it, be aware that you're beginning to taste that experience and just allow it to take place. Noticing the calming in the body, the breath, and the mind. Rejoice. Noticing the pleasantness. Rejoice. And some of you may already are experiencing inner signs, the inner sensations. Immediately remind yourself clarity, radiance, rejoice. And take a nice deep breath to make that determination, the conviction to enter. And as you release the breath, let go, let go, let go, let go, let go. And at the end of that exhalation, notice the calm, stay there while you allow the breath to return on its own. Stay in that calm, stay in that pleasantness, choice. And wherever you are, have a sense that, have a feel that we are all present in the same space where you are, sitting in a circle. And have the perspective of someone else looking at our circle and say, look at them as though pointing to one thing, calling us. Connect with that sense of us being a one thing. Our recognizing that of this oneness begins to appear in the very center of our circle as a bright presence. And in the same way, we feel my left arm and my right arm makes us. If the right arm goes to help the left arm, we don't think the right arm helping the left arm, we think I'm helping myself. So have that same sense with each other. And as that sense of usness being one without necessarily losing our distinctiveness, this magic, that bright presence in our center grows stronger, brighter, and begins to expand. And as it expands, it absorbs into its brightness everything that it touches. So there's no longer distinctions anymore. There's just that bright presence continuing to expand, absorbs your pets, absorbed your neighbors, your town, your city, absorb your entire country, absorb the entire planet. And if you want, if it's real to you, let it continue until the sense of all is absorbed. And there's only disappearance of this bright presence. And in that, there's a sense of, if the ocean needs help, it's me that needs help. If the sky needs help, it's me that needs help. And just like the left goes to help the right, we go help ourselves, the ocean, the sky, the various animals, species, the mountains, the rivers. And whoever comes in your mind naturally, immediately absorb that person into the usness. And get ready. Now that we've gained the knowledge, we don't need this appearance of this bright light again. So it begins to shrink. And as it shrinks, whatever it touches is now, whatever it absorbs is now appearing, but it has that glow of oneness, usness, until it comes again in our circle and it dissolves into each one of our hearts. And we have this conviction: when I sincerely help myself, I help all of us. When I sincerely help all of us, I help myself. And whatever intelligence, whatever gift your own intelligence may have given you tonight, be grateful. Feel the merit energy. As you feel that merit energy, think of something or whatever it is that is of sincere concern to you, and direct that energy to help address that concern by simply wishing it, desiring it. Gyawadi Gyawad Sunam Yeshin Songzokshin Sunam Yeshin Lechungwe Dhamma Punyi Topa Shu. Be aware of the space of the meditation. Notice the signs, rejoice. have the intention to arise from the meditation. Take a nice deep breath. And as you release that breath, let yourself reconnect deliberately to your immediate surroundings, noticing your surroundings, your sense of touch, your sense of hearing, and your sense of sight. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Phuntsok, your talk today was outstanding. I really appreciated it. It was excellent, and the meditation also. Thank you.
Thank you.